Hello and welcome back to Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm going to be speaking to you about a little film called One of These Days. One of These Days was released back in 2020 and it's directed by Bastian Gunther and it stars Joe Cole, Carrie Preston and Callie Hernandez and lots of other people as well. So the film is set around a competition where people must keep their hands on a pickup truck in order to win that vehicle, and the last person standing wins that, and that could potentially change that person's life. So one of the things that drew me into this film was Joe Cole. I've obviously seen him in Peaky Blinders, he was in Skins, he's had a Black Mirror episode, and he's done a few short films, so I like a lot of his sort of acting career. I think he's done some very, very good performances. So I was curious to check out this one, especially since it was set in America. I was intrigued to see what he would do with that character. I really liked the first 45 minutes of the film. I think it sets up the world, this very much small town in Texas that's very much everyone knows everyone and everyone's business, and this sort of very sort of cliquey dynamic that's very much these people don't leave town, they very much work in the town, they grew up there, everyone knows everyone. And I think there's some really good character moments as well, especially for Joe Cole's character. Carrie Preston is also one of our other lead characters. Now she plays Joan, who is running the competition at this car giveaway, and she is very much a very lonely woman who is seeking relationships with, men that don't seem to treat her very well. So we begin this story following both their perspectives quite equally. However, that soon drifts off, but I'll get into that. There are various characters within this film that have different archetypes in terms of who they are, in terms of people who are very aggressive, who like to wind each other up, very religious characters. We have a soldier. It's very interesting in terms of this small town attitude, and especially sort of very much America's small town. And, there's a moment later in the film where they start singing the national anthem of the United States, America. And yeah, that's very much an interesting moment and reflects who these people are and how they can come together around that moment, and that sometimes turns a switch in some people's minds. I think the film has a really interesting setup and it allows for different characters that are going to clash heads and there's going to be confrontation. So it sets up really, really well in that first 45 minutes of the film. I was really invested. However, the last act of the film definitely feels like so out of character. There's certain things that characters do that feels very unnatural to what should have been leading up to that moment in the final act. There are storylines that are left unopened and unexplained, especially for characters like Joan. I was curious to see what her relevance was with these relationships and where was that going to get her. But that last act just feels so out of place and so, I don't know, it just didn't fit in. I think it was trying to be too clever. But what they should have done, in my opinion, is just keep it to that simple story about people and characters in this competition, and obviously that will push people to certain limits. We do see that, but then it goes maybe a little too far in terms of what is likely to happen for these characters. So it really lost me in the last 20 minutes, but up until that point I was really invested in this sort of character. It could be a play, it works as a really good sort of indie film, which is what it is. And that last act, it's so someone else has written it. I think for such a small independent film, there's some good actors in there. There's performances that I really enjoyed from Joe Cole and Carrie Preston. I think everyone did a great job in that sense. And I like the cinematography, the very much yellow sort of saturated tones that sort of reflects that sort of southern state kind of feel. It feels very warm, it feels sweaty, you can feel those sort of sensations and atmosphere that the characters are experiencing through the cinematography, which I really appreciated. I definitely think there's a lot of skill been put into that. However, I just think the narrative itself is really bizarre. I think the script really lets it down in that last act. Otherwise, I would have enjoyed this film a lot more and rated it a lot higher and ultimately recommended it to a lot more people. But I just think it's so bizarre, that last act. So I'm going to give this film 2.5 stars out of 5. So there you have it, there's my spoiler-free review of One of These Days. If you've seen the film already, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you guys want to follow me on social media, don't forget all the links are down below. I'm very sort of active on Instagram and Twitter, so do check me out over on there. And I'll see you guys very soon for another Popcorn Chat.